Hello, thank you for joining me. My name is Chrissy Hodges. I'm here at Mental Health on the Mighty, live to talk about change today. I hope that you've had a great 2017 so far. The last time I was here, I talked to you about some of the 5 stages of recovery, how that might affect you, and where are you in those stages, and how can you move forward to the other stages. So I just wanted today to talk about change, because with the new year comes change. And right now in our country and all over the world, there are a lot of changes going on. And I know that that can really affect our mental health. And so today I wanted to talk about what that is, why that is, and what are some of the things that you can do in order to stay healthy mentally. And I also want to talk about the shame and the guilt that go along when sometimes you're having symptoms during a change or right after a change, and how you navigate that. So first of all, why and how does change affect our mental illness? So I can only speak for me. I'm not speaking for any of you, but for me, change is probably my biggest trigger, even when change is a good thing. And that really took me by surprise as I got farther along in recovery and a little bit older in my mental illness. Even when I would have positive change, I would find myself about a month later experiencing symptoms, which for me would bring a lot of shame and guilt. I'll get into that in a little bit. But it scared me because I thought, these are positive changes. So how come I'm experiencing symptoms, especially depression? That doesn't make any sense. So for me, the why about change is, I have OCD. I have pure O, which is sexual and violent intrusive thoughts. For me, routine is really important for my mental health. The same as, eating healthy, exercising. For me, having a really solid routine, knowing what's going on, knowing what's going to happen, that just keeps things in my head a little bit balanced out. So the last time I moved, I didn't really know what grocery store to go to, and what track I could run on, or what gym I could go to. And so even though these seem like really minor issues, and I'm almost 40 in 2 weeks, almost 40-year-old adult, those things really throw me into this feeling of not being aware, not being able to control things, which is also another thing that can affect my mental illness. And so, especially recently, and I'm going to talk about lived experience, I had a big change happen in 2017. So I'm going to tell you, being able to do these videos and be able to share them with you and hear your feedback really made me feel good and know that I'm not alone out there. I quit my recent job that I'd had for a couple years as a peer support specialist, and I opened up my own practice. Working with people one-on-one with peer support and stigma, and helping people reach recovery and work through these huge emotional stages. Now, that change was exciting for me, but all of a sudden, I fell into hey, Rudy, I fell into a few weeks of feeling really down, really depressed. I started to feel like all the intrusive thoughts were coming back. I started to have anxiety. I started to feel like, I wasn't worth anything. And these are not feelings that should come about with a change in your life that you're excited about, right? And so here's what happened is, instead of recognizing it as, Chrissy, you have a mental illness. And so in your life, when you have big changes, which is a trigger for you, these things are going to happen. Of course, I internalized it. Like most of us do. I was like, I'm a horrible person. I'm never going to go anywhere in life. Nobody likes me. I'm miserable, blah, blah, blah. And it spiraled down in that familiar feeling of depression and anxiety. And so what I had to do was remember, and I've been in my illness now for 32 years, and it's still, I'm still trying to learn this stuff, but I really had to remember, okay, this is just part of what you go through when you have big changes. This is part of what it feels like, so write this stuff down. So I write it down when it happens, so the next time I have a big change, I can remember exactly what it was like to feel that, and then I can start to normalize it, if that makes sense. So that's my suggestion when you're going through big changes. And these, the first thing is recognizing your triggers. What are your triggers? Are your triggers change? Are they loss? For me, loss is a big trigger as well. Is it change in the weather? Time of year, anything like that. What is it? And what do you experience? Even the emotions, because I think that we forget, and I'm always like pressing this home for people, is that mental illness is not just physical. It is emotional. Okay? So remember that your emotions are valid when you're having symptoms and when you're navigating the process of moving in and out of recovery, okay? You are going to feel anger. You're going to feel sadness. You're going to feel some really powerful, sometimes negative emotions. And that's okay. Because the shame and guilt, this is when this comes in. And I had a discussion with someone yesterday. And if you're out there, woohoo, you're going to know I'm talking about you. I had a discussion yesterday about what happens when you're moving forward in your illness and you're experiencing these negative emotions. So I'm going to focus mainly on shame and guilt because we all know this. These are the biggest emotions that we probably deal with mental illness, right? So we were talking about what happens after, you might experience a period of relief. And then let's say for me, then I have this change and all of a sudden I'm spiraling back down into this rabbit hole. All of a sudden I feel so embarrassed and so ashamed. Like my head goes to, you're a phony. You're a mental health advocate and here you are feeling depressed and anxious. You can't even control yourself. You see what I'm saying? It just builds and builds, like this huge tsunami that's about to run over me and drown me. And the shame and the guilt of, if you're going to be talking about this stuff, if you're going to be working with people who have mental illness and helping them toward recovery, why don't you have your crap together? Sorry, I almost cussed. And that's where that piece comes in. And that's what's so difficult when you do experience relief. Or if you're starting to experience relief and you're in therapy and then you go back. God, doesn't it feel like 1,000 times worse? It feels like it was worse than it's ever been. That's how I feel. And then I have to remember this. There's a great comparison that I try to use with other people, and I try to remember myself. Okay, so have you ever experienced a loss of someone, or if you know someone who's experienced a loss that was so devastating to them that the grief process took a very long time? One of the things that happens during this grief process is, at first, especially first 2-3 months, 6 months, it's, you're feeling this overwhelming sadness, anger, whatever you need to feel to move forward. And people are helping and people are, supporting you. And then you start to feel like you don't want to tell anybody because you put in your mind some sort of timeline. Well, I should be over it by now. It's been a year. It's been 2 years. I should not feel this sad anymore. And you retreat into this shame and this guilt and this little place, and you start building, a wall around you, and you don't want to express to people that you're still grieving after losing someone or something that's caused you grief. It is the same thing with mental illness. What happens is, especially when we get treatment and it works, if we experience something like change or loss and it triggers our symptoms or whatever triggers you, all of a sudden we retreat back. We don't want to tell anybody that we're experiencing these symptoms. I don't want to tell someone that I'm really anxious today and I don't want to leave the house, or I'm feeling really depressed. I don't feel like meeting, or I can't do this because today I really need some time to isolate. That's probably not the best thing to do, but but sometimes I have to do it because I feel so scared that they're going to think this, that they're going to say, well, that must mean that you're not well. And you feel shame and you feel guilt and you want to put on that face. You want to put on that mask, right? And go, no, I am. Everything's good. I'll go out anyway. When all the while, y'all, it's okay. It's okay to feel those symptoms again. And you are not alone. And oftentimes, mental illness is not a one-time shot. It's not a one-time deal. Oftentimes you aren't just going to get treatment and then it just goes away and everything's great. And so today what I wanted to focus on is just telling you that you're not alone when this happens. And maybe you're not experiencing that today, but at some point you will, or maybe you have a friend that's experiencing that. And to let you know that sometimes your symptoms are going to come back, and sometimes it feels worse the second time, the 10th time, the 20th time around. But that shame and guilt, I hope that we can get to a point where that isn't part of it. Because, in all honesty, like when people have relapses in physical illnesses, it is, oh, here we go again, and I'm having to do this, and I'm having to get back to where I was. And they don't always experience the same kind of shame and guilt that we do. But I'm here to tell you that you're not alone, and that it's okay, and that there are people out there that can support you. And that's where I wanted to end. Who are those people? Have you identified them? What do you do when you know a huge change is coming up? I always tell people, anticipate when things are going to go bad, because this is another thing. Oh my gosh, y'all, I do this too. So I'm not just saying that everybody does it and I don't, please. When I know something big is coming up, okay, I always think, I got it this time. I have a friend, Angie, out there. She's probably watching this and laughing. She's probably like, girl, I know, you should have upped that medication. But I always want to think, I got this, whatever. It's not going to affect me this time. And then when it does, and then I'm just, taken aback, that's when I beat myself up. But what I try to do is this. I try to tell my support system, who are the people that you trust? Who are the people that you know aren't going to make you feel ashamed or guilty if you are experiencing symptoms? Let them know. I have a big change coming up. I may need you. I may need you to tell me if I'm saying things that don't seem like myself, or if I'm doing things that seem out of character, because we all know it's the safe people we want to tell us. We don't want people that aren't safe coming up and being like, Chrissy, you're really acting weird today. I just want to smack them. And that's not an OCD intrusive thought. Sorry. So figure out your support system. What are your coping mechanisms? If exercise is good for you during those times of change, carve out 30 minutes, an hour a day to make sure to exercise. Eat right. Talk to your psychiatrist. Talk to your psychologist. Hey, I've got something big coming up. Hey, I'm feeling a little triggered lately. That's where you shouldn't have the shame. That's where you should want to empower yourself and say, this is coming up. I'm going to anticipate it, and I'm going to go ahead and beat it before it even hits me. So I just wanted to share this video today. A lot of the reason, because I've been going through a lot of changes lately, and I like to be able to share my own lived experience with you, and also so I know that I'm not alone, and hopefully it'll help someone out there that's watching. But also because there are a lot of changes right now in my country, America, and across the world. But one thing I know for sure, I just want to say this: mental illness does not discriminate via race, via skin color, via religion, wealth, nothing. And that is one of the things that bonds us together. And maybe it's a negative thing, but for me, I have talked to people in Ireland, in Africa, from India, from Australia, big shout out, Pat, in the last week. And for me, that opens up the globe, knowing I am not alone, knowing we're in this together, knowing that it spans across and we can all work together to find hope. That's the message I wanted to share to you today. But I also wanted to tell you one more thing that I'm super excited about. My book came out. I can't believe it, y'all. I cannot believe it. This has been 20 years in the making since I got the idea, 5 years in the writing. This is the memoir about what I went through with pure OCD. It's raw, y'all. I mean, raw. Every detail possible about my life. If you're interested in reading about that, or if you are struggling with OCD, pure OCD, I do think that it can help you and feel less alone, because as you all know, not feeling alone feels so much better and gives us hope and motivation that recovery is possible for anyone. So the book is available at Amazon.com or BarnesandNobles.com. Amazon, they're probably not ordering enough because they're probably like, who is this girl and what is this illness? So they keep going out of stock. I know it's not because it's that popular. So if you find that message, go to BookLocker.com. That's my publisher, and you can buy it there and they can ship overseas. And I also wanted to let you know that I have started a peer support business, and I help people work toward recovery, and I am taking clients right now, just a select few. So if you're interested in working on recovery and stigma and these major emotions with mental illness, give me a buzz and let's talk about it and see if that can help you. You can go to ChrissyHodges.com to find out what those services are like, and then you can go to booklocker.com or amazon.com to order my book. But I just wanted to tell you, thank you so much for being here. I look forward to this so much every month, because I just know that there are so many of us out there that have that common thread. But what the common thread that I want to create between all of us, that's not just mental illness, is hope. Because hope is available and recovery is possible for anyone. I look forward to having some chats with you afterwards, and I can't wait to talk to you next month. I hope that you have a lovely February and a lovely Valentine's Day and President's Day weekend and everything else that comes with it. And I will be here with you in March, and we'll talk about something else that hopefully you can relate to and not feel so alone with. Goodbye.